Yes, hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Shooting Czars Euros podcast. It's been a week, boys. We've had a little hiatus. Two of us have been to different locations in this world, but we're back now. Episode 4, after another big weekend of action as the end of the group stages approach. Bryce Conway and Alex Grant are with me, Stuart Marshall, as per usual. Brycey, how are we going over there in Perth, mate? I'll start with you. How are things over the past week? How have you been?
Mate, I'm good. It's freezing. Just had the gas heater on. Aircon's getting fixed tomorrow, so that's been a hassle. So that's great.
Yep.
But no, I managed to get back on the park on the weekend, and the mighty uni got back on the winners list. So happy days.
And you got a goal, I believe.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, mate. It's all about the team, 1 week at a time, all that nonsense. But yeah, just happy the boys got a win.
No. Talk us through your goal. How did it come about? You've been injured recently, and you got back on the park for uni, as you mentioned. Your team you've been playing for many, many years now. But back in the goals, back in the team, you must be feeling great.
Mate, it makes a huge difference in the mood on a Sunday when you're not pissed off with your entire team. So it was nice. But no, it's just good to be out there and running around again and getting some sunshine on my alabaster complexion. So I think the remnants of a tan is probably the biggest win I got out of the weekend. Yeah.
Rightio. Lovely to hear. Alex Grant, he comes to us tonight from Thailand, I believe. Somewhere in Thailand. He's away on duty with the Pohang Steelers of South Korea in the K-League for the Asian Champions League, but he's likened his stay to prison. So for those that are maybe watching on YouTube, you can see that Alex is actually in a prison cell. And we aren't kidding. Grantie, how are we going, mate? You're back traveling with the team. You got games coming up, but maybe the prison aspect isn't so flash, is it?
No, it's not, mate. But do you like what I've done with the place?
I love it. I really like the bedspreads you've got on your beds there.
It's cracking, isn't it? It's fantastic. I've got no roommates though, unfortunately, no cellmates. So, and I'm on my own in my room. But yeah, we're in Thailand, in Bangkok. Can't say I've seen much of it. Seen the training ground. We went to the stadium today where we'll be playing all the group games, and basically just been confined to my room for the last 3 days, and it will continue for the next 3 weeks, unfortunately. But that's the world we live in.
So explain to us and the listeners, you touched on it before we came on air, I suppose, what the situation is. It's you're away with Pohang for the Asian Champions League. Is it a mini sort of tournament all happening at the same time? A little hub sort of vibe?
Yeah. So we're in so this is the group stage. So they've put us all in one venue. So we're in Thailand. There's other groups playing throughout Asia. I think there's some in Uzbekistan and other various countries. So we were stuck here, and yeah, I mean, we're on the 5th floor. The Japanese team, I think above us. You've got Johor below, and then the Thai team are here as well. So we're all staying in the same hotel. I haven't seen any of the other players because we're all on a schedule, a tightly run schedule, to be fair. And when we're training at different times, we're coming down the lift, they're doing whatever in the rooms, and that's just how it continues. And when we come back from training, the next team goes on the training pitch, and then that's kind of how it works. So we've not really seen any of the other teams, even though they're in the same hotel, which is a bit eerie.
So there's one training pitch, or only a couple of training pitches that all the teams are sort of using at different times?
There's one training pitch, which is a first division team's stadium. I don't know the name of the club here in Thailand, in Bangkok, and all the
Bangkok Glass.
All the games. I don't know. All the games are being played. That went straight over my head, that man. It's been a tough few days, Bryce. But yeah, all the games are being played at the National Stadium. I don't know. We went to check it out today. It was nice. I'd like the same feels of the new camp. I've not been to the new camp, but it was kind of that. It was a big stand, open roof. It was impressive.
Okay.
Are you airdropping videos to rival players of you tackling in your highlights just to get in their heads?
Yeah.
So you mentioned as well, another Australian and former Perth Glory player, Shane Lowry, is actually in the same hotel, staying with his team on a different level. But obviously, you're old friends. You haven't been able to see him. So, what team's he with now? Because he's recently moved clubs in Asia.
He has. He's with.
Hopefully, you get to see him as well.
Johor, a Malaysian team. He joined up with them a few weeks ago. So I rang him last night actually for an hour and a half. So we're kind of having a laugh about the standard of food and the quality of life here in Thailand.
Prison.
Yeah.
And it's just to be clear, is it just prison for the players in the sense, because obviously the COVID, are the COVID protocols club enforced and maybe the Champions League protocols, or is the country in that bad of a position that everywhere's kind of in prison, I suppose?
I know they've had a bit of a rise in cases recently. They've had a bit of a spike, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I think it's enforced by the government. And the regulations have been handed to the AFC, who then delegate that to us, and we've got to live by those rules. So I think all the foreigners who come into Thailand actually have to quarantine like they do in Australia. So we are kind of quarantining, but we are doing a job at the same time.
Right. So strict protocols, stuck in his room, plenty of time to watch. I don't know, maybe the Euros? Is that something you can get on?
The Euros, the Euros
on?
is on. It's funny, there's a guy at the bottom. So I'm right at the end of the corridor. It's probably about a 70-meter strip. And there's a guy right at the end of the corridor by the lifts. And he's got these handmade signs that kind of say, I don't think he talks any English, but it says, please go back to your room. Please put your mask on. He's got like different placards with all different messages on, which is pretty funny.
There you go. Different things. I suppose you got to keep yourself entertained, I suppose, when you're in jail as well. So, Bryce, you ever done any stint in hotel quarantine, Bryce? Granted, you've had to have a couple of stints in quarantine now, but what about you, Bryce?
No stints, mate. Just happy days here in Perth, to be honest. It's been a dream.
Very easy.
You're not really in Perth, though, are you? You're in your little bubble south of the river.
Yeah, actually, the city of Fremantle.
That's right.
Yeah, the city of Fremantle. So God's country, yeah.
It is God's country, down at South Beach.
Yeah. So when we had that one lockdown, I could still walk to the beach and still, relax. So yeah, can't complain at all.
Oh, well, Grantie, we're thinking of you, mate. And there's obviously a big tournament coming up. Hopefully you can keep yourself busy in your room, watching plenty of football.
I'm sure you are, Stu, you bastards.
Oh, well, I'm in Sydney now. I just got back to Sydney from Tassie, and there's, 9-10 cases in Sydney. There's been a COVID eruption here by Australian standards. So, I may be heading into a lockdown as well, mate. So maybe you and me will both be consuming plenty of the Euros, which is actually the reason we are here today to talk. So, thanks to everybody that is tuning in. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook. Oh, not Facebook, sorry, Instagram and Twitter. We don't have a Facebook. And if you are following us, if you're listening to us, we're on all podcast networks, Google, iTunes, Apple, whatever you want to call it. And of course, Spotify. Chuck us a like, a subscribe, leave us a review even. Let's get those reviews up. Let us know how we're going. But thanks for listening. We got another big sort of show. We're going to point out some weird and wonderful things we saw, or we've been seeing over the week, I suppose, at the Euros. There's been a few funny storylines, and especially those that are watching on YouTube. I'm sporting the Ronaldo Coke background. Obviously, that's been quite a hilarious aspect of the Euros and the press conferences and the amount of different players that are moving the sponsors around. We will be dissecting games over the past couple of days. Obviously, there's been a week since we've last spoken, so there's been plenty. He's got some water, and Grantie's now holding up some water and some bread, rations in his prison cell. So we'll be dissecting a few games, and then obviously covering off some A-League and EPL action and answering the questions that the boys asked from last week. So if you want to know the answers to those and you haven't looked them up, stick around to the end. But anyway, let's start with the weird and wonderful, Bryce. What have you seen over the past week that sort of caught your eye? Maybe we can start with the Coke and the Heineken sort of situation that's been brought upon by Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
didn't want to be seen with Coca-Cola bottles in front of him at a presser. What did you think, mate?
Yeah, Pepsi deal incoming for old Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right, there we go.
It was a real interesting one. I think because you could see him just eyeing it off, and he just moves it, and he made a big deal out of it, and they picked up the water bottle, and this is like stay hydrated or whatever. So that was interesting because it was just such, it came out of nowhere, and usually those press conferences are boring as anything because they're not giving away anything before the game. I see it was quite pointless, really. So it made it a bit of fun, which was good, and it wiped billions off the Coke stock price and share price there. So it was interesting to see how influential he is. And then Paul Pogba moving the old Heineken.
Heineken, yep.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was religiously motivated or what
Yeah,
his reasoning was for that.
Yeah, well, he's a Muslim, so he
Yeah.
doesn't drink alcohol, so maybe that's the main reason. But it was pretty
Did
funny.
you know it was 0% or?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, but maybe he just doesn't drink Heineken. Then you also had Romelu. Then you had other players like Romelu Lukaku saying Coca-Cola, Coal Rock Nation, his agency in the company he signed for, which is actually Jay-Z's company, I believe. You got Yarmolenko from the Ukraine asking for Coca-Cola to contact him and work with him. You got John McGinn sitting down at the Scotland presser and asking where the Coke bottles were. You had the Russia coach actually popping a Coke bottle off and having a drink at the presser. So there's plenty of funny stuff to make out of that. Other things we've sort of seen, I saw in the crowd in the Switzerland v Turkey game, someone actually had COVID-19 on their shirt, which was pretty funny. It's their name and their number. So there you go. People are getting creative.
Who does that? Who does that?
Another heartfelt one was the Christian Eriksen moment in the Belgium v Denmark game, Grantie. Obviously great to see. And there's obviously good news with Christian Eriksen being discharged from hospital. But there was sort of a celebration of Christian Eriksen in that game as well. What did you think of that? Have you ever been in a game where games sort of stop playing for a goodwill moment, I suppose?
I don't think I have, actually. I thought it was a nice gesture, don't get me wrong, but it was a bit odd them stopping the game for a whole minute. And like you said, like you touched on, Christian Eriksen's doing good, so it's kind of, I guess it's just to keep everyone upbeat. And why are you asking me this question? Bryce was the one who threw it up before the pod. Like,
no, I just wanted to get. I wanted to know whether you've been involved in a game with the goodwill gesture, and you said no. So
I think you have, Grantie.
Have I?
I think at Glory you have. I think there was
maybe the Liam Miller. I think the Liam Miller.
It was.
Yeah. There was a minute's applaud.
Yeah.
Right.
HBF Park. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, but Bryce, you were saying off air, as Alex said, you know, Christian Eriksen hasn't passed away. Do you think maybe it's a bit over the top?
I think if he's alive and okay, I think it might be a bit too much giving him a minute applause when he hasn't passed away. It usually is left for people that have passed away and them trying like honoring their memory and things like that. So I just thought it was a bit, I don't know, it just struck me as strange straight away. I didn't really get it, to be honest. I mean, great to support Christian Eriksen. I hope to see him back on the pitch and everything, but I just thought it was a lot.
Maybe it was I don't know, Romelu Lukaku was obviously from Belgium and they were playing Denmark, and it seems like him and Christian Eriksen are good mates over there in Inter Milan. So
well, they're such good mates, he'd know that he's all right. So I don't know why. Anyway.
Nice gesture. Nice gesture otherwise, but the best news out of all of this is that he's been discharged from hospital, Christian Eriksen. So that's the most positive thing.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, we've got some games to talk about, fellas. It's been a big week. There's sort of isn't an early game tonight in the games as well. I think there was only 2 games last night. We're recording this on the 21st of June, so Monday night. But the end of the group stage is approaching. But let's move all the way back to the big one, I suppose. We'll start on Friday, England v Scotland. Alex, you watched this one. There's been much debate about England's team selection, Gareth Southgate's lack of use of certain substitutes, their playing style. Is Harry Kane fit and he looks a bit leggy? England must be the hardest team to manage in world football, international football. The amount of media attention that team gets when they have one bad game is quite astonishing. But let's look at the game itself. England 0, Scotland 0. Scotland were probably unlucky not to get a goal. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say that's fair to say. No, I wouldn't, Stuart. I mean, look, they had a couple of chances, but, England at the post. I think, as a whole, I think it was a fair result. I think Scotland were definitely the better team. I think they shaped up really well. I won't say they wanted it more, because obviously the England, but it's like me, when I go into every game, I want to win. I'm not saying that there wasn't, that will or hunger to win the game from the English players, but like you touched on, I don't know what it is. They just look like they're lacking something. And I think that prior to the tournament, they didn't come in with bundles of confidence and good results. 1-0 against Austria, another 1-0 win. They're not setting the world alight before the tournament, and I don't think they've really taken much form going into it either. Obviously, they got the result against Croatia, which was a hard-fought 1-0 win. And I just think that Scotland really shaped up well and were always on the front foot, pressing well. There was a couple of good performances. I thought Tyrone Mings played really well. And I think he's actually probably been England's most consistent player over the two games. A player who we actually said we were slightly worried about him going into the tournament. We weren't entirely convinced coming off the back of his season with Aston Villa. So he's kind of one who surprised us slightly. But yeah, I don't know. They're just lacking something, and I don't know, like you said, whether it's the media hype and it's getting to them like it always seems to do with England squads in big tournaments. But I think there's definitely a cause for concern.
Do you think the media scrutiny is justified though, or do you think they haven't played great in this tournament thus far, but neither have France. France didn't have the greatest game, which we'll come to in their 1-1 draw with Hungary. But yeah, do you think? Guys like Ian Wright and whatnot have come out and sort of having a pop at Southgate at least. Do you think it's fair in terms of the scrutiny on how he's been selecting the team and maybe not using certain players? Like Sancho really hasn't got a run. Grealish hasn't got a run, especially when the team needs a goal and needs a spark.
I think, look, we said that he'd make changes, and he did. The ones he made, there was a couple of surprises, I think. But even the players he kept on the pitch, I think Foden looked pretty average at times again. Sterling, I don't know about Sterling. I'm just not entirely convinced by him as well. And like Bryce said in the first game that Harry Kane looked lethargic, and I kind of disagree, but I thought in this game in particular, he actually did look a bit leggy, and he didn't look like he was really doing the graft, and that's just what I took from it. I thought Luke Shaw did well, and he was the one who we thought would start in the first game and didn't. So whether he keeps him in there or he throws Trippier back on, but Grealish, I think that's the one that everyone's talking about. Did he bring him on too late? I know he got the last 30 minutes, but does he need to be starting? But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the results. And as Gareth Southgate touched on in his post-match interview, that their main goal is getting through the group, and that point pretty much solidifies their spot in the next round. So I think that's the thing that everyone kind of loses sight of that. What is the main goal?
Results.
You have Portugal didn't even win a game in the group stages at the last tournament. And nobody remembers that. They only remember them lifting the trophy at the end of the tournament at the end of the day. And if England go on to win this tournament, everyone will forget about the Scotland game. So that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yep, I agree. Bryce, do you think, I think Jose Mourinho has said on TalkSport, because he's working with them for the Euros, Brazil and England are the two hardest teams to manage just the media attention that are on those international sides. If you were Gareth Southgate, what changes would you make in the third match? I mean, would Foden come out? Some people are calling for Harry Kane to get dropped. I could not see that happening. That would cause too much of a media storm, in my opinion. But yeah, what changes would you make to the England team, I suppose, in that sense?
I'd like to see Sancho start instead of Sterling, just on the wing there, and really see what he can add to the squad, because he's shown his goals and assist ratio and goal involvements for Dortmund were unreal the past couple of seasons. And Raheem Sterling has been a player who's been out of form. So he's I know he scored, but I think that flattered him in that first game against Croatia. I thought he was poor up until that goal, and after the goal as well. So I think you got nothing to lose by trying another player there who could possibly play better than Sterling and is in a better vein of form there. I think I know everyone's clamoring for Grealish and wanting more time, but he came on for 30 minutes and I thought he did sweet nothing for half an hour, if I'm honest. And so I don't know if he's a player that has to start. You see players that come on and can make an impact off the bench, and I don't know. It's always it's up for conjecture there. There's plenty of conjecture around whether he should be starting. I think it's the main focus point at the moment is Grealish and then Foden as well. There were such high expectations on Foden. I think it was Ian Wright's tweet talking about Foden's style. He never went out on loan at any other clubs, and he only knows Pep's style, the Man City style of play. So that's making it more difficult. I don't know. I find it hard to kind of agree wholeheartedly with that.
Wait, I missed that. I missed that tweet. What can you just elaborate on what that tweet meant?
Yes, I think it's saying he isn't flexible enough in different systems, and playing with the England system, it doesn't suit him and doesn't suit his strengths. So he suits Pep's style and style of play at Manchester City, whereas at England, it doesn't seem to be working out as well. But I mean, you saw that first 15 minutes against Croatia, and he looked elite. He looked like the best player on the pitch. And things he hit the post, and then things kind of slowed down from there. But I think he's an absolutely world-class player, but he seems to be struggling at the moment. I don't know whether it's because of the attacking trio they've got there at the moment. Sterling and Kane are both struggling. I don't know. Do we want Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front now? Do we want to give him a run if they effectively secured a spot in the knockout stages?
Would you drop Foden? Would you take Foden out over Sterling, Alex, and maybe bring in Sancho or Grealish on that side?
I think one thing about Sancho is everyone's saying how good it would be to have him featuring, but I don't think anyone really knows how he plays. And obviously he's got talent, and he's at Borussia Dortmund, and he's doing something right if he's playing there. But are we going to see? I guess what I'm trying to say is I think people are just saying, okay, Jadon Sancho, Borussia Dortmund, throw him in kind of thing. But obviously Gareth Southgate sees something that we don't, and that Foden and Sterling are the better players to be named on the team sheet. You've even got Rashford there as well.
He just watches more Premier League than Bundesliga, I reckon.
That's. But I think the majority of people in England and the majority of people in the world do. So I think everyone's kind of just saying, "Oh yeah, throw Jadon Sancho on," but
he must be good, sort of thing.
Yeah, but there's obviously a reason as to why he's not playing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think someone who's grossly out of form, and Raheem Sterling, there's talks of him leaving City and he hasn't been good enough all season. And then someone who's absolutely razzling for a team that isn't winning absolutely everything. I just think he's worth a spot on the bench at least. I think that's been the most surprising part for me is he hasn't even got a spot on the bench.
Yeah. No, it's go on.
I wouldn't say Foden's world class either, Bryce. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I think you're right. Top class, not world class. Yeah.
Another thing I just want to highlight. Yeah, I know. I just thought I'd pull you up on it, but
cheers, dickhead.
But I'm just getting back for that one last week, mate.
No, you're just getting hard in prison. That's all you're doing. You're feeling hard now.
That's it.
Don't drop the soap.
But another thing I know I'd seen on Twitter a few posts actually, and on Instagram actually as well, was highlighting actually maybe England fans how they took Wayne Rooney for granted and how good he was when he was 18, playing in this tournament, scoring 4 goals.
Yeah.
the youngest player at the time to score in the Euro. I think, looking at it now in hindsight, I just think he tore up that tournament, and that's when he came on the scene. He was playing at Everton, 18 years old. And that's what I'm saying. I just don't think England have a player like that. I think everyone's going on about Foden this, Foden that, Sancho this, Sancho that. I don't think they come anywhere near. Yeah, I just don't think they're anywhere near what Wayne Rooney was like at that age.
Classic English media, isn't it, with rising stars? Too much pressure too soon. I mean, Rooney was that rare kind of exception where it worked, and he exceeded expectations. He did everything everyone thought he would. But yeah, it's kind of dangerous putting that pressure on these players, because now we're already talking about, geez, Foden's really not cutting the mustard here, is he? Kind of thing. So it's just like, I think it's dangerous. Yeah,
that's such a fine line.
Yeah,
and it's the balance swings so much, I think. And it's
he can score one, and we're like, oh, don't worry about it. He's going to be the best in the world, kind of thing.
That's what I mean. I completely agree with you both. Like, it's just the pressure on this team is ridiculous. I think from a media perspective, especially all the ex-players that are pundits. I don't know, just like everyone shits themselves. It's like when Man U loses, it's like the world is going to cave in if there's one half bad result.
I guess that's just what happens to the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah, it's their job to be, on top of things and put expectations and predict what's going to happen with players and make these big calls. Honestly, but it's like, for us, it's like the best thing to do is like, you got to see what happens, because you can't predict the future, and it just can be harmful for some teams and some players and be quite toxic.
Yeah. All right. Let's we'll move on before we we'll keep moving on. We've got a fair bit to sort of get through in this episode. A quick word on Scotland though, Bryce. Give us 1 minute. I know, sorry to the Scotland fans, the Scottish people out there. Sorry, Mum. But yeah, quick 1 minute word on Scotland.
Yeah, mate. Billy Gilmore again showing class.
Has COVID now as well. That dropped this evening.
God, that poor guy.
What are the ramifications of that?
Good thing that no one from England got near him, so they'll be all right. I think he was class. It's really unfortunate for him after hitting that form. But England had more shots on goal, more shots on target, and I think I told you a few Scotland fans, and they felt a bit like, I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity. So that was their kind of sentiment after it. So I think it was a really good performance from them after they were quite, disappointing against Czech Republic there. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. That's that. England v Scotland. England are now playing Czech Republic in their third group match, and Scotland are playing Croatia. So the other two Friday games were Croatia 1, Czech Republic 1, and Sweden 1, Slovakia 0, which, Bryce, you say was we won't talk about it too much, but what was it to you? It was the
worst game at a major tournament I've ever sat through a full 90 minutes for. It was absolute rubbish.
All right, enough
said. At least you watched it. At least you watched it, Bryce. You're doing it for the pod. We appreciate
there we go.
It.
Doing his homework.
The cause, lads. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So, Friday there was only 4 goals in the 3 games, or 3 goals in the 3 games. England, Scotland highlight that one with a 0-0 draw. Let's move to Saturday now. We've got Spain 1, Poland 1, Hungary 1, France 1, and then maybe the game of the weekend, Portugal 2, Germany 4. It was kind of set up for a Cristiano Ronaldo hat-trick at the start of that second half, I thought. Portugal down 2-1, Germany 2 late goals in the first half. Ronaldo chasing all these records, already got that early one. I was kind of just envisioning him to bang in a double in the second half to get that hat-trick. It didn't eventuate though, Bryce, and Germany ran out 4-2 winners, and they've sort of turned it around at this tournament and look pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I had a mate before the game, I think it was on Saturday morning, messaged me the odds, and Portugal were like $3.25 and Germany $2.25. I was like, geez, that's good odds for Portugal. I mean, based on form and everything, you would have thought Portugal would have won that game. I think Germany showed nothing in that first game to suggest that they'd beat the reigning champions in the form that they were in. So it was definitely a big surprise. Cracking game, best of the tournament for me so far. In stark contrast to bloody Slovakia. But I just think seeing a player like Robin Gosens score, like a guy that I hadn't heard of before the tournament. Obviously, he plays at Atalanta. So, I mean, I don't watch a lot of Serie A, but they've been in the Champions League doing really well the past few seasons. He got rejected by Dortmund as a teen, and he was working at a petrol station a few years ago. So it's just mad, those kind of stories, hearing that. And you just know that he's someone that is going to become a cult figure immediately within the German national team, which was seriously, it was cool. But I think Josh had learned his lesson after the first game. We're not passing to Ronaldo, and he squared that easy one for him after some superb control. So, no, what a game. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and I suppose there was 2 own goals in that first half, and there's already been more own goals in this tournament in the early group stages than there were in the whole of the last tournament. So,
yeah, I think they got the record, and it's like the group stages already or something. So it's mad.
Is that just a coincidence, Alex, there being more own goals this tournament around than last, or is that a reflection on defenses being worse, or is there any sort of, do you think, indication of maybe a change of rules as to maybe why more own goals are happening?
No, I think it's just by chance that there are more own goals and just an anomaly. I think that it's occurred in this tournament. I think I saw actually on Twitter some guy. It made me laugh. I think he'd put a bet on with Bet365 or something like that there wouldn't be a single own goal in the whole tournament, and there was one in the opening game. And it was like, if you need any betting tips, just come to me. Oh, it was funny.
But just a coincidence.
It was. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, nothing. I don't know. Nothing behind it.
I wonder if it is like there's more. You do see a lot more wingers and wing backs getting in behind defenses and looking for that cutback ball rather than the higher crosses and stuff. I wonder if it's a style of play change has contributed to it. But I think overall, Grantie's right that shit happens when you're a defender and you put yourself in that position. If boys are fizzing the ball in at that pace and stuff, there's not a lot you can do. And that's what most of them have been for the most part. It's been fizzed in and they're trying to get the ball away from the goal, and it's just gone flying into the net.
You definitely never want to score an own goal. And the one in the opening game, and I know it was very Michael Owen-esque of me, that wasn't it? It was just, you don't want to score an own goal. No, you don't, Alex.
Oh my God.
I can't remember which one it was, but the defender, he kind of just wellied it into. Which goal was it, Bryce?
Was it Hummels? Hummels against France?
No, in the Portugal game.
In
the one he just
Guerrero? Was it Guerrero?
Yeah, that one. I think that was poor. I think he could have dealt with that a lot better.
Bad body position
game as well. Yeah, I don't know. It looked like he actually had more time than what he probably thought.
Yeah.
And often it's usually like a lunge. And in the past, coaches have told me that as soon as you lunge, you kind of leave yourself open, whether it be someone trying to take you on, because it's hard then to get your feet back together and move again quickly. And if you're lunging, which they did in those circumstances, and someone strikes the ball and you've planted your foot, you can't move it out of the way. If it hits you, there's a high probability that it could go in.
Yeah, and that's what happened. 2 own goals in that Portugal-Germany game. Hungary won, France won. As I mentioned briefly, Antoine Griezmann bailed France out after Hungary took the lead. But yeah, they went at their best, were they, Bryce? They've sort of, had maybe a little stumble. I'm not calling it a stumble, but I just kind of think this is to be expected for teams that never played together, I think, especially in high stakes matches that they're not going to play, amazing football. Germany have had a bad game. England haven't had the best of games. France have had a bad game. Portugal have lost. Like, all these teams aren't going to play well all the time, are they?
Yeah, that's true. And I think some credit to Hungary. I thought they did quite well, and I think they were definitely buoyed by a packed Puskás Arena at home in Budapest. So I think that maybe just because fans haven't been present for so long, it had a really big impact for them. And it's just funny with all the attacking flair and class that France have got. It took a Sunday league wellied it up the field to Griezmann for them to equalise, and it worked out for him. So I thought that was just classic to see. But yeah, I wouldn't read into this result too much for France. I think they'll, when it comes to the crunch time, they're going to do enough to qualify, obviously, for the knockouts, and they'll be all right. It was a good, fun game, but yeah, I think don't read into it too much. I think France will be just fine.
Yep. So France will be playing Portugal, I believe, in their final game, and then Portugal will be playing Hungary. France will be playing Germany, I believe. I think I've got that correct. Yes.
France have already played Germany, haven't they?
Yes, they have. So they're the final games in that group. Spain won, Poland won. I mean, Spain should have won this, I think. I think that's fair to say. Alvaro Morata often the scapegoat for many of the teams he plays in. He sort of is always offside. But missed a sitter or a very good chance after the missed Marino penalty. But Spain and then Robert Lewandowski got the equaliser. Couple words on this one as well, Bryce.
Yeah, I mean, Lua to the rescue again. He's so good in the air, and he's very hard to mark there. So no surprise to see him score another header. I thought Morata scored in this game. Did he not?
No, he did score, but then
but he missed that chance in the follow up.
Yeah, so Moreno then missed the penalty, and then Morata missed the follow up, which he sort of just maybe flashed at it. But yeah,
it's funny because Spain, we're so used to their team being like the world 11, like the likes of Iniesta, Torres, Xavi, like every single player being an absolute worldie. And I still think they're an amazing team. They're doing everything right, but they're a bit suspect at the back and they can't finish chances. I think that's been their biggest downfall now is they can't finish the opportunities that they're creating because I think they're still so strong at controlling the game, dictating the flow and the tempo of the game, but they're just not scoring. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing now or a structural thing, but I just don't look too flash.
Nah, they don't. They're obviously not the team they were. I wouldn't be expecting them to go super far this tournament. I reckon the likes of Portugal, Germany, and France and England will hopefully get further. Let's look to last night. So last night there was only 2 games, as I mentioned. Switzerland 3, Turkey 1. Xherdan Shaqiri with a double there. 2 neat goals as well, by the way. His first goal was on his opposite foot, right foot.
His right foot, yeah.
From outside the box. And then he sort of had a first time finished on a sort of counter-attacking goal. But they got the job done over Turkey. But Italy beat Wales, Grantie. We'll bring you in here. Yeah, Italy, don't sleep on Italy either. They're stacked and they sort of, I saw something on Twitter or I think Optus Sport were maybe talking about it, questioning whether this Italy team are as good as their 06 World Cup winning team. Obviously early days, but Italy have now gone 30 games unbeaten which is a new record for that country at least. But what did you make of this game? Gareth Bale missed a sitter as well, which should have given Wales the lead.
I was just going to touch on that. I think the red card definitely dampened Wales's chances of getting back into it. But like you just touched on, Gareth Bale had an amazing chance with about 10 to go, which he skyrocketed over the bar. But yeah, the Italians, they just look so solid. No one looks like breaking them down. So organised. I think they play 3 at the back as well. Or they looked to be playing like that when I first started watching it. I should have kept tabs on whether they changed the formation or not. But yeah, just look organised. Like you said, they've scored 9 goals now. They've not conceded a goal at the tournament. So I think probably now looking at it, you'd have them as the favourites because they breezed through the group. And they I don't know, like you just said, I think they just play with, they are kind of playing like world beaters in a sense. They've just got that confidence about them. They're going into each game, they're approaching it well, and yeah, they're just solid all the way through.
And Wales have progressed as well. What did you make of their performance? We will be seeing them in the knockout stages.
Yeah, I think the first game, they played all right. And like I just touched on, Ampadu got sent off, which was...
Is that a fair red card?
What do you think, Grantie?
It was a really tough one. I honestly, it was one of them where I looked at it and was just I was just kind of arguing with myself that is it, isn't it? Obviously the rest made the decision that it is, and you've got to stick to it. But I don't know. What did you think, Bryce?
I think it's one of those challenges you see almost every game. And I think if that's the precedent they set, there's going to be a lot of bloody red cards because I don't think it was. I think it was definitely poorly timed, and there's a bit of professional foul about it. But I think a red card, you could see by his reaction, like he wasn't even thinking that it would be a red card, and it took everyone by surprise. And the replay doesn't make it look good. He definitely stood on his foot, but it's one of those challenges you see a lot in football.
It was just slightly high, wasn't it? Probably just in that threshold where you probably argue that, yeah, it probably is a red card. But yeah, he was surprised, definitely. yeah, you could see that from his reaction for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think from there on, I think Italy kind of just controlled the game. But Wales have got some promising signs, and it's fantastic that they've made it through the group. I'm actually really chuffed that Wales have got through. I'm kind of
Same
they're
here.
they're the other team I'm kind of gunning for besides England. And they play some nice football as well. I think like Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale are the focal points within the team, and I think a lot goes through those two players, and they kind of look into those players to create something. And I think the big question, or the one thing that everyone kind of looks at in Gareth Bale is, does he just put it in for Wales and he can't be asked playing for Real Madrid because he just turns up there. It's just like he wants it more. He's like, it's honest to God, like it's like he's trying harder for Wales than he does at a domestic level.
I think you see that with the majority of the Welsh squad, don't you? I feel like all of them play beyond their kind of club level for their country. Like you get the likes of Joe Allen plays at like such an elite level for Wales. Rambo, you see the passion in him. They all seem to live, which is just fantastic to see, and especially considering what it was like in the past for Wales. I mean, you go back 10, 15 years ago with the likes of Ryan Giggs, you know, not wanting to go and play for Wales whenever there was internationals and things like that. So it's great to see Wales on the big stage, obviously following up from the Euros in the last years in 2016. It's just, Jesus Christ, you've risen Lazarus rising there, Grantie. But yeah, I just think it's awesome to see Wales there, and it's a feel good story every time they get some points. But Italy look good, and the togetherness, like Mancini, I don't know if you guys saw this, like bringing on Sirigu, the goalkeeper, on for the last couple of minutes of the game, just to give him that more of an experience and feel like he's involved, because Mancini played in 2 World Cups, never actually got on the pitch, never played in a major tournament because of, you know, politics and stuff within the squad. So I don't know, there's those little stories like that, and seeing how together and cohesive the team is, that makes me think, shit, they could do something special here.
Yeah, and they will they will be there at the end. I think they are looking great, and obviously Wales got to the semi-final in 2016 of the Euros, so they had that dream run with Chris Coleman as the manager. But that's they're the games that we've sort of watched over the past few days. Obviously, there was a few more earlier last week, but given the amount of time that we have in this podcast, we'll just focus on the past 3 days. But by the time this podcast goes out, the games that will be happening tomorrow morning, the 22nd of June here in Australia, North Macedonia are playing the Netherlands, and the Netherlands actually don't look too bad under what's his name again? What's the manager's name? De Boer, sorry, there he is. So North Macedonia v Netherlands, and the Ukraine v Austria, and that's in Group C. And then Group B, you got Finland v Belgium, Russia v Denmark. So those results will be out tomorrow morning, and we'll maybe touch on those later in the week. But anyway, boys, we'll leave the Euros chat there. Obviously, we are conscious of time now. We're going to try and keep the podcast a little bit shorter. But let's have a quick look at Australian football. Alex, is obviously just quickly, the A-League grand final is here. Sydney FC and Melbourne City are through, and they were the teams we've kind of been speaking about and have sort of been tipped by many people to make it through. Sydney beat Adelaide. Adam Lafondra got, I think he got a double there, or he missed one and scored one. Bobo scored as well. And then Juande, your old teammate at Perth Glory, scored for Adelaide United. And then Melbourne City 2, MacArthur 0. So Melbourne City weren't phased by their relocation to Nostrada Jubilee Stadium in Sydney. Didn't actually get to play the semi-final in Melbourne because of the whole COVID situation. But the best 2 teams are through to the grand final. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's always, I think it's better that way. It always seems justified when the best 2 teams get through to the grand final. Because I always think if a team that finished 6th, I know it's never been done, but if a team finished 6th and makes it to the grand final and wins it, what a load of bollocks that is. And it is, and the fact it is, and just the fact that there's that opportunity for them to do that is just absurd. So
what would you do in that case to the A-League final system? Would you make it a top 4? Okay, ideally we scrap it because we're in this sport there isn't finals, but in Australia there is in sport. But if you were to alter the A-League final system, would you make it a top 4? 4 out of the top 10? I think that's probably fairer, although you don't get many big blockbuster games, which
Definitely.
is why the A-League and the FA, Football Australia, have these extra finals games.
Yeah, probably top 4. I mean, you've got 12 teams in the comp. How is it that you can finish halfway down the ladder and still win it in the end? The championship, or whatever they call it, and I just think it's ridiculous. But yeah, okay, if we're going with that, we'd say top 4, to make it fair, and then
2 semis and a final.
Just get in the bin with the rest of them, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree, because you can have a shocker season and scrape into the top 6, and then it's like you get the same prize as the team that came second, third, and fourth, because top win the premiership, but I mean, you're effectively getting the same prize, and it's just rubbish that. But it's because I think it is. I mean, the A-League, they get the money from the finals, ticket sales, and stuff like that, so they want more games.
Oh, of course, it's always finals games. Money generally, and
with money being
more games.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be. I don't see it changing anytime soon, because that's the case, which is sad.
Yeah, and it adds that excitement, like you said. So they, instead of just adding games to the regular season, they're going to get more bums on seats by having a finals kind of competition. Yeah. So, but good to see Sydney and City in the grand final. I guess I don't know who's going to win it. I said it didn't the other way, that I think I can just see Sydney doing it again.
Yeah,
I really can. But
especially with no Jamie McLaren and stuff there for City.
Yeah, but to be fair, for City, the young boys stepped up. The lads who got the goals, I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but I know 2 of the young lads stepped up against MacArthur, and they got a quick 5 double. It was the 54th minute and a few minutes later as well, so that kind of sealed their spot. Mm-hmm. So who knows? Anything can happen in grand final at the end of the day. It's a one-off game. And it could go either way. I don't really have any preferences to who I want to win.
Yeah.
Could do the draw, and then, I don't know.
Extra time.
Well, yeah, something happening. I don't know, lightning strike or something get postponed or...
I think there was maybe on Twitter there was a couple. I think Mark Bosnich actually said, I don't know, everyone's wanting people to rally to postpone the game because there's still concerns about whether Melbourne City, who finished top of the ladder, can actually host the grand final. I think Greg O'Rourke, the head of the leagues, the A leagues and the whole Australian Football Leagues, has sort of said that they're going to be doing everything they can to let Melbourne City have the grand final, but there is still concerns over crowd numbers and whatnot because Melbourne are coming out of a lockdown. But either way, you can't think in Sydney or Melbourne there's going to be no crowds, which is unfortunate. But yeah, there's been calls on Twitter at least for, the game to be postponed and let the Socceroos and Ollaroos boys sort of come back and play. So that would be the likes of Jamie McLaren, et al., and these guys that have sort of been really instrumental. But if that happens, then maybe it'll change the complexion of the game and sort of how it may pan out. But yeah, that's kind of being floated.
See that. I can't see that happening, Stu, because they've got to do 2 weeks quarantine when they get back. So it'd be meaning postponing the game for another 3 or 4 weeks, and what a load of rubbish that'd be.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they definitely got a debacle on their hands as to where they're going to hold the venue. I think I saw someone that they said they could hold it in Geelong. Is that right? Is that kind of out of the?
Yeah, that's been floated as well.
Yeah, that's kind of out of the CBD lockdown, so they could host fans there. So that could possibly work. But imagine that, playing at Western United's home ground.
What would you prefer? What would you prefer if you're in that situation? Would you just prefer to play, say if you're at Glory and this was happening, would you prefer to play at HBF Park, or would you want to go play where fans are?
I think personally, I actually think I'd rather play where fans are.
Regardless of where that is?
Yeah, home or away. And there's just nothing compares to it, Stu. It's so deflating playing in empty stadiums, and it just lacks that atmosphere. And even though when you're playing, you don't really take much notice and you don't really hear it as such, it's just lingering in the background. You still get that feel from when the crowd's buzzing. And even when you're away from home, you kind of know when you've got a team, because the crowd will go, you can hear them, but they're quiet. You know, they're giving you abuse. You're getting on the backs. It's great. Oh, there's nothing better. Honestly, God, there's no better feeling than going away from home and winning a game of football.
Yeah,
it's the best feeling ever.
It'd be an interesting question for the Glory squad, considering having qualified for a home grand final a couple of years ago and having to play it at a pitch that was not technically the home ground and the ground that at Optus Stadium, which the team wasn't familiar with, hadn't had luck, and they'd only played exhibition matches there previously. I mean, would you rather play in a packed Optus Stadium again for a grand final? Would you rather play at an empty HBF Park where you know the pitch and you know every blade of grass and you're more comfortable on it?
I'm telling you now that if that game had been played at HBF Park, we would have battered them.
Yep, I remember talking to the boys after that game and they were saying the same thing.
I think playing at Optus Stadium, okay, there was 50-odd thousand or whatever the number was. I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a lot of people there, all shouting and screaming. But when you play in a stadium like that, when it's not enclosed and the crowd is a long way away from the pitch, it actually doesn't really feel like as enthralling as what you think it would. It doesn't really have much of an effect, you know. So it's, even
though it was sold out.
Yeah, honestly, it really does. It really has a massive effect on the atmosphere in the ground when the pitch is so far away. Sorry, the crowd's far away.
That's interesting. All right. Well, there you go. A-League Grand Final. We'll update and talk about that when it's all said and done in the next episode or maybe next week or whatever. A couple other quick stories just in Australian with the lens on Australia. Adama Traore signed for Western Sydney Wanderers today. Bruno Fornaroli, your former teammate Alex, has extended his stay at Perth for 2 years, so that's positive news for Perth fans. Yeah, then there's this, I don't know, crazy Aussies to Celtic rumours flying around. Elvis Camp Sober was being floated on Twitter today. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but people on Twitter weren't happy about that.
Is that a they taking the mick with that or what?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't even been performing for Melbourne.
Yeah, so that was being spoke about on Twitter. Take that with a grain of salt. Matt Ryan, £3 million to Celtic is looking more likely. We've sort of been talking about that a little bit. And Ross Aloisi is supposedly open to the Celtic move. But that's sort of where Australian football's at. We'll just quickly gloss over some big APL stories, and then we got one question sent in this week, fellas. Loyal listener John Turner, he sent in a couple. He's got actually two good ones for you, Alex, about your ECU Joondalup days. So we'll get to that in a second. But quickly, in the APL, fixtures were released, boys. Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and Newcastle. I figured maybe we can talk about that. I think Arsenal and Palace are the first game, though.
Two mid-table clubs. That'll be decent.
I don't know if you guys have had a look at the fixtures. It's always an interesting time. Maybe Bryce, what do you think? Have you had a look at sort of how Liverpool are going to be shaping up early in the season?
The start looks all right for us. I always look towards that Christmas period because that seems to be a time where it just becomes crunch time, and how you fare in that kind of month or so seems to kind of be the barometer for your season. We've got quite a few tough. I think we've got Leeds, Spurs, and Chelsea or City in that time period. So it's going to be a very tough one there. But haven't really looked into it too much, to be honest. Been focused on the Euros, mate. Yeah,
fair enough. Newcastle will be playing West Ham. Man U, I don't know who Man U have got off the top of my head. Alex, have you got it there? Leeds. That's a good game to start.
Good game.
Need to win there.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you haven't seen the Premier League fixtures, they're out. So that means the season's getting closer and closer. We've been talking about the Everton job. This is actually quite an interesting one. I said in the last pod that Nuno Espirito Santo, formerly of Wolves, was the favourite and was actually looking like he was going to get appointed. But it looks like Rafa Benitez is going to be taking over there. So he'll be getting the Steve Bruce treatment, I think.
Good shout from me, that one.
Yeah, great shout from you. I think you said that in episode.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
So did Bleacher Report 2 weeks ago, mate.
Benitez looks like he's going to go to Everton. Jurgen Klinsmann, former manager and player at Spurs, has declared his desire to take that vacant manager job. He said that on BBC or ITV's coverage of the Euros. He got asked by Gary Lineker. Aston Villa re-signed Ashley Young at the age of 35, 10 years
Love
on
that.
from his exit to Man U all those years ago.
There's nothing better than a player doing that. It's like when
It's
Rooney
so
went back
good.
to Everton. It's
Yeah.
like it's definitely a good feel about it. No one's really
Yeah.
against it. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, good on you, mate.
Everyone wins.
He's done his dash in Italy, won the title with Inter Milan. Obviously, he's been there a year and a half, maybe.
It was a two or 3 years. It was
Yeah.
He did really well there. But I just think, how funny is this Tottenham debacle? No one wants to coach him.
Yeah.
And you get Gattuso, manager at Fiorentina, for 20 days, bins it, and then Spurs try and get him, and they're just like, nah.
Yeah.
And then Klinsmann's like, please give me, and everyone they're just like, I mean, fucking no one else does. So go for your life, mate.
Yeah, no, that was that's looking pretty interesting, that Tottenham job of how they can't get anyone.
Oh, God.
United are supposedly in for Trippier, but don't want to pay the money that is being reported, which is around £20 million. Tamori leaves Chelsea permanently to Milan for 24 million. Patrick Van Aanholt's going to leave Palace on a free at the end of his contract in June. And then Arsenal reject a £25 million bid for Emile Smith-Rowe. So Arsenal have been involved in a few transfer stories. Yeah, Newcastle haven't signed anyone yet, though. So we'll see what happens.
Just waiting for that shake takeover again, mate. It'll come.
Mbappe. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get to question time just to finish this episode off. We'll start with the one question sent in on Instagram. So thanks to the one person who sent in the question, John Turner. Keep sending him in, mate, because
appreciate you, John.
This is great, and this is a
Cheers,
good question.
John.
He's got two questions for you, Alex. Well, one question for you, one question for us. Grantie,
Okay.
pick your five-a-side team of ECU grads that went to play pro to be entered to play at Bouncers Joondalup, where I'm sure you've played, as a vets team after your career.
Oh, what a question. What a question. Okay. I'm just trying to think. Okay, I'd obviously have myself. Is that allowed?
That is allowed.
Yeah, I'm decent on the futsal.
Okay, maybe one sub as well.
Okay, I'll have one sub. Reece Williams.
Good choice.
Yeah, definitely have Reece. He's probably one of the best centre backs I've probably played with, to be fair. There's been a few, but yeah, Reece was immense. Especially like when he came to the Glory off the back of his stint at Borough. You could just tell he was that cut above. Very good on the ball. And yeah, good defensively as well. I'd have Shane Lowry in there as well with me. So it's a pretty defensive five-a-side team, but you know, we won't concede much. Chris Hurd.
Okay. Yeah. Was that Villa in the Prem?
Yes. Who else would I have? Brandon O'Neill. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
Is that five?
Brandon O'Neill, Chris Hurd, Reece Williams, Shane Lowry,
myself,
Alex Grant. So one more.
I need an attacker. I'll probably say Ryan Williams.
Yeah, played with him at Portsmouth. You guys were both scholars there at Portsmouth.
Yeah, good player, Ryan. Quick, nippy. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few I've left out. Rostin Griffiths, he played there. Rizzo had a little stint there. Yeah, there's a few. There's probably a couple more that I've forgot off the top of my head, and there's probably one like at the
glaring
end.
Omission.
Listen to the pod. Yeah, but yeah, I'll go with them. So good question, that John.
Great question, John. So just to recap: Alex Grant, Reece Williams, Shane Lowry, Brandon O'Neill, Chris Hurd, and
Ryan Williams. Did you say Ryan Williams?
Ryan Williams. So the two Williams brothers. Lovely. Thank you, John. All right. And Brycey, maybe we can dish this one over to you. What is the best major tournament song, if you can recall them?
Oh, Poetry in Motion, isn't it? Surely.
What tournament was that?
Or do you mean as in like it has to be the official song of the tournament, or it can be from like each country has their own? Because Poetry in Motion, wasn't that 96?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that one. It might have been, but I think it was the official tournament song. So I remember you had Shakira, Waka Waka.
That's my favourite.
South
Stu.
Africa
That's got to
World
be
Cup.
it. I can't remember any other official song besides Waka Waka and that going off
Waka waka.
during high school.
What a
Seriously,
song.
that
Dummy,
is
dummy,
that's the
Don't
dum,
listen
best.
to that
dum,
now.
dum, dum. It's
You
time
take
for
that out of a World
Africa.
Cup context, and we wouldn't be giving it the light of day. But the fact it was part of a World Cup, it was just the best.
And that's where Gerard Piqué met Shakira, and they're now married with kids. There you go.
Magic. You gotta love that.
All right, there we go. Thank you, John. Thanks for sending in the question. Keep sending them in, mate. There was a great question for Grantie there. And
Create
quickly,
some burner accounts and send those questions in as well, so it makes us look like we got more followers.
we might have to start doing that. All right, boys. We've been going about nearly an hour now. I know we said we wanted to try and keep it at 45 minutes, but there's just too much to talk about. And finally, there's no question to go on for next week, but we've got to answer the two questions that we talked about at the end of last week. Bryce, you asked who was the all-time, I've forgotten, top scorer.
Oldest goal scorer at the Euros.
Oldest goal scorer at the Euros.
Who was the oldest goal scorer at the Euros?
It was Ivica Vastic.
Who is?
Never heard of it.
Some old geezer who scored, but 38 years old.
What
No,
country?
he was Austrian. He was an Austrian player that he scored when he was 38.
At what tournament?
I think Goran Pandev scored when he was 37. What tournament? Oh. Probably should have asked me this before. I'm going to say 2008.
All right.
That's the question for next week, listeners.
There we go. What tournament what was his name again?
Ivica Vastic.
What tournament did he score in? We'll have the answer next week.
What Euros tournament?
What Euros tournament?
Yeah.
And of course, Goran Pandev was 37 and scored in this tournament, which is why we're talking about this. And Grantie, you had a question, I believe, the 4 Euros in the Euros final of 2012. Spain 4.
Yeah.
Germany 0.
Italy
0. Who were the scorers? And I believe it was David Villa, David Silva, Fernando Torres, and Guti.
Where have you got Guti from?
I don't know. That was a guess.
No, David Silva, Jordi Alba, Fernando Torres, and Juan Mata.
Oh, we're off.
Juan Mata. He just does his thing, hasn't he? He's been around forever.
Gotta love him.
Won everything. All right, boys. That's it. We did it. That's another episode. Episode 4 is done. Thank you for your time, fellas. What is it? What's the time in Thailand? 9.
10 to 9.
10 to 9 in Thailand. Brycey, 10 to 10 and 10 to 12 here in Sydney. So we're going to wrap this up. Thanks, boys. Thanks for everybody that listened. We'll be trying to drop another ep, fitting it in amongst Grantie's Asian Champions League schedule and mine and Bryce's schedules, but we'll be dropping hopefully another ep within the week. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get Shane Lowry on the pod, given he's also in
surely.
Given he's also in prison in that same hotel. So maybe stay tuned for that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good shout.
Thanks, boys. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll talk to you again very soon.